Okay, welcome to the show. This is Ted Talks Too Much. And I think we got a great one for you. I am Ted Moss, ex-maid at a private girls' school, stand-up comedian, and your host. We are located in the OK Boomer Studios just outside of Flint, Michigan. That's right, Flint. Michigan's water wonderland where they're still wondering when they're going to get some clean water. But while we all wait for that, let's talk. And on today's show, it's part 2 of Mr. Ron Rigby. That's right, it's just more of me and Ron, two old white guys. And we'll be talking about dating, religion, dating, comedy, dating, and more. And we'll be back with that in just a sec. We are looking for a few good men. That's right, men. And boy, oh boy, are there some perky perks. Have you ever thought a man's rectory is a place you want to be? Have you ever seen people rise when a bride in a long white dress passes by and think, I want to be her? If dirty stories are your thing, better than Penthouse Forum, we've got a quorum. And they're lined up to tell you true stories in person. That's right. You could be the professional in the confessional, where you can listen and no one can see your hands. Just contact us at Holy Joe's Super Seminary, where you never lose your job, because we specialize in transferring trouble. Or just go to surroundmewithboysandresses.com, where you can apply today. All right, here we go. Ron Rigby, part 2.
Welcome back. Your dreams.
If you enjoyed Ron Rigby part 1, you're going to love this. It's just a conversation between two old confused white guys. But I tell you what, Ron Rigby is one of the nicest people I know, and I think he's hilarious. So sit back and relax and enjoy Ron Rigby part 2. Let's give it up for Ron. Ron, you got to realize we're old white guys. Whatever we think is probably wrong. The good thing is we're going to be dead not too long, and so that people don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think young people think that we're joking, but really, when you get to this age, death isn't horrible. Death isn't like the worst alternative, in my opinion.
No, I told my kids that I've done more than I ever expected to do, especially coming from where I came from.
Right.
So if I die, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I did great.
Right.
It's only the people you leave behind. You leave too early. I think that's an issue.
I can remember being young and like maybe smoking weed or partying and thinking, man, is there ever going to be a time when I don't want to do this? I hope there's never a time when I don't want to do this. And then the time comes where you just go, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And people think, why aren't you going to party? Because I don't want to anymore. And they're like, no, that can't be. Well, that's what happens. As you get older, you don't want to do things that you did as a younger person. It's weird you can't relate to it when you're young, but as you get older, like, you just don't want to do that shit anymore.
Well, it's kind of like I'm over it. I've been there, I've done it.
Yeah.
I did so many drugs in college, and I'm around kids that smoke weed and stuff. And I'm like, no. Well, I'm even kind of that way with drinking. I used to be known for my drinking.
Oh, really? I didn't think you were a big drinker, were you?
If you go back to my high school and read what they predicted for me 10 years out of high school, it was being a drunk. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was an alcoholic. My sister was an alcoholic. My other sister was an alcoholic. I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of drunks around me. And I used to drink weekly in high school. I drank a lot in college.
When I was a senior, you probably too, you're a little older, but when I was a senior, you could drink at 18. So we would go Friday night from high school to the bar.
You were 18 in high school?
Well, close enough.
Were you held back?
No. No, how old should you be in high school?
I graduated at 17.
Me too, but I was July. But
I was August.
And at that time, they were like, fuck, you're close enough. Come on to the bar. They didn't even check ID because it was 18. It's like we just came from high school. You're old enough or whatever. But
did you see my post where I got carded the other day?
No.
Yeah, I got
You got carded?
I got carded at Target.
What were you buying?
Well, that's the funny thing. Oh, I mean, you can buy groceries and beer and wine at Target. So in any case, I was at Target and I was buying some groceries, and I picked up a beverage and I put it up there, and She said, I'm going to need to see some ID. And I thought, I haven't even run my credit card yet. Why?
So obviously it was alcohol.
Well, let me tell the story.
All right, sorry.
So I said, what do you need that? And she said, for that, and pointed for my
beverage.
Yeah, for my beverage, for my 8-pack, 6-pack, whatever it was. And I said, are you kidding me? And I put both hands up. I said, really? And kind of like, look at me, really? And he said, oh, yeah, need to. And I said, okay, I will show it to you. But I got to tell you, last time this happened, Nixon was in office.
Right. Jesus.
And she's like, who's Nixon?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? And I said, I gave it to her. I'm like, somebody should take a picture of this.
That's stupid.
I was like, if we're going to do this. We're going to do this. So here you go. I gave her my ID, and I was born in 52. I'm like, all right, there you go.
How old was this person?
You know, they were probably 30-ish, but I think they were instructed to check everybody's ID. But the weird thing was, what I was buying was ginger beer, which is like root beer, but it's ginger ale beer. So it wasn't even alcoholic.
No.
Yeah.
But they didn't know. They didn't even know. I mean,
apparently not. It kind of looked like beer, and the picture on the side of the little thing, it was packaged like beer. So they just assumed it was beer.
Yeah.
But I figure, you know, if there's any problem with my age, it's probably I'm too fucking old to be drinking ginger beer.
Well,
sorry, you're too old. You can't drink this shit.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, what kind of a person thinks someone our age should be carded? Sorry.
I don't know. It was a very weird thing. I thought it was a Kodak moment.
Maybe
I
it was
proud,
this person's first day at work. Not that I'm not
maybe
saying you
she was
couldn't
trying to
pass
get a
for
date with me. Maybe she thought I was cute. And
That was a woman, so yeah, she might have been. She wanted to get when you gave her your license, maybe she got your address real quick.
I should ask you that before we get out of here. Do you have any dating advice for me? I had some really good advice I tell everybody from Billy. When he was on the show, he gave me great dating advice. And as you know, I've been seriously dating and looking for somebody for 6 years now. In 6 years, I have not had a study, but I have gone out with literally hundreds.
Well, last time I was
dates.
with you, Ted, you were out with a beautiful woman, and you showed me your picture.
Yeah, I've gone out with some really good-looking ladies.
Can you tell me the reason why none of it's sticking? Without just a quick answer like me, or
I'll tell you why. Every time I'm going out for the first date, in my head, I'm kind of like, yeah, baby. I'm thinking this is going to be good.
That's great. That's upbeat. That's the way you should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be the one. And then
what happens?
I had a date yesterday, dude, and it never fails. I go in optimistic. I like
Bubbly,
talking to
happy.
people. Yeah. I'll talk about anything you want.
You almost talk too much sometimes.
I do talk too much. I totally talk too much. But I'm glad to go ask you about any of your life. Let's share. Let's whatever. And on the way home, it never clicks. And so then I'm like,
it's her, isn't it? It's not me. It's not me. It's her, isn't it? It's her, right?
That's bad.
It's bad.
What was she like yesterday? What was
Okay. Yesterday I was not proactively seeking to go out with her. She was okay looking. And I like good looking women.
That's going to be a problem.
Well, she's okay, but she was okay. She wasn't bad.
I just meant it's going to be a problem that you said that. But go ahead.
Well, no, I'm being honest.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm being honest. My ex-wife was very beautiful, and I like beautiful women.
Are your standards is that like a thing?
Well, probably too high.
Yeah.
They're above, my game. How about that?
Yep.
Probably.
Yep.
But I really like good-looking women. And I got to tell you, though, there's a lot of guys that cannot date good-looking women. And I truly believe that. Some guys are intimidated. Some guys are too possessive. I mean, I've had friends that...
Jealous.
Yes. I've had guys, friends of mine, that meet a good-looking woman, and I'll go, dude, she's too good-looking. You can't go out with her. Just because I know his game isn't at that point. His self-confidence isn't at that point. He's going to be jealous or angry or upset or
she's
worried.
She's out of your league. She's out of your league.
Well, it's not because she won't like him as much as he's not going to be able to maintain a relationship with a woman that's going to get that much attention.
Right.
And my daughters are gorgeous. And I've always told them the same thing. I've always said, look, being very attractive has some benefits. People are going to want to talk to you. They're going to notice you. They're going to start off being happy talking to you. You're going to have that foot in the door at all times. But it also has a downside. There are guys that are going to be overly aggressive to you in ways they shouldn't be. There are people that are going to say things inappropriate about you, where if you weren't as attractive, they might not even notice you. People are going to make passes, offers. There's both sides to that.
It's a two-sided coin.
It is. But as for me, I enjoy being with a good-looking woman, especially if she's smart and self-confident. That's my kind of gal. And I need somebody that's not easily intimidated. You know, I don't want to scare people off because, you know, of my past or experiences or anything. So it's a hard find for me.
Right.
So yesterday, the gal was, you know, she was okay looking and her background was okay.
So you said you didn't really pursue her. She kind of contacted you and said, let's give it a whirl.
Yeah, you know what? She said hello via a dating site and I said hello back. And she was nice to talk to and we shared a couple things and had some commonalities in our career and kids and thoughts. And
same age-ish?
She was older than I usually date. Mm-hmm. My ex-wife is 55. She was 60, I think, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But in range.
Yeah.
You know, in range. There's nothing wrong with that. And she was fit. She was in good shape. And she was extremely quiet. She was, you would probably pin her as shy. Mm-hmm. That's not really a good match for me.
Not you, no.
Well, you know, if we go to a party, I'm going to be walking around talking to people.
No,
I'm not going to be holding your hand.
She'll want you to be next to her.
That's not a good couple for me. So I need somebody that's self-assured or confident, or you know, that's important. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, and that's not a looks thing. It's just
no.
And also, she sang in the church choir, and I'm an atheist.
Oh boy.
Now I don't lead with that.
No.
You know, my ex-wife was Catholic. I have friends that. You know, my wife, my girlfriend prior was Seventh-day Adventist, and I used to go to church with her sometimes and stuff. So I can hold my tongue, and I have appreciation that this is important to people, and I get that. But if you're leading with your religion,
then it's a big thing for you.
It's not going to be a good match for me because if you want to talk about this, let's talk about it, and I'll ask you about Jesus and the flood and who wrote the Bible, and we'll get into these conversations. I think that's fascinating. I've studied that stuff.
Sure.
I listen to the Atheist Experience sometimes out of Austin, Texas, which I think is a great show. Mm-hmm. And I've listened to people who believe in God, who don't believe in God. And by the way, being atheist doesn't mean you believe there's not a God. It just means you don't hold a belief that there is one.
I thought that was agnostic.
That's what people think, but Gnostic is about what you know. Theism is about what you believe. If you hold a belief that there's a deity, you're a theist. If you don't, you're an atheist. So
you don't believe there is a deity?
No. I don't hold the belief that there is a deity.
Oh, okay.
I do not hold the belief that there's not a deity. And people think because it's a positive and negative question, you have to either think one thing or the other thing. But I'll give you an example. I've ridden a Harley Davidson since I was a young teenager. Mm-hmm. I think Harley Davidson makes the best motorcycle in the world. Bar none, for no reason is any other motorcycle anywhere near the quality of a Harley Davidson. Do you agree?
Gotcha.
Do you agree?
No, I do not agree, Ted.
Do you think it is not the best?
I think there are better motorcycles out there than a Harley Davidson.
Okay, well, then you have an opinion. But there are a lot of people that you'd ask that to and go, I don't know, because I don't know anything about motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there is, and maybe there isn't.
Gotcha.
So I don't hold the belief one way or the other.
I should have said that because
that would help my story a lot.
Well, the only motorcycle I've ever owned is a Harley Davidson, but you know, I've never. BMWs might be great, you know. So I really
that's
don't.
True. But my point is, there are situations where people go, I don't hold the belief that it is the best, nor do I hold the belief that it is not the best. So it's possible to actually be in a position where you don't hold a belief.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a deity, a God, an ultimate being, an overseer, I don't hold the belief. I don't hold the belief that he exists. I don't hold belief that he doesn't exist. Therefore, when it comes to theism, I'm an atheist. You know, now when it comes to what you know, I know this for a fact, then you're a Gnostic about that fact. And when you when you don't know, then you're agnostic. So most people think atheist means I believe there is not a God.
Right. That's what I thought
that's
too.
Not true.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just people don't understand the terminology. But that, in any case.
Another area where you're exactly like George Carlin. Same
Too much
exact
information.
No, not that. No, that's exactly. I mean, he had bits on that. You know, I mean, he was an atheist as well, and he did great bits on that. But this is how you parallel him so much, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. And
if they ever do that show where you're doing dead comedians,
all right.
I'm definitely going to vote for you to do Carlin.
Well, let me know ahead of time, and I'll think about it.
I'll talk to Jay or
which one of his bits would you have me do?
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Depends on how much time you get.
Would you have me do the dirty words thing, or would you do me?
That'd be a good one. I think the religious one would be a good one, too.
Yeah.
You know, the all-seeing, all-knowing, almighty God knows everything, but he always needs money.
Exactly. That's hilarious. I know. I think that's hilarious. I would like to, I started to write a bit one time about the flood. Mm-hmm. And like, if you're really going to literally believe in this, because I went to classes to become married to a Catholic, and they took me to classes. And I had to actually listen to people.
I can't imagine you in those classes.
I know, it's terrible. My wife was like, poking me in the ribs, because I got my hand up. I'm going, hold it.
Right.
You actually believe that Noah really existed in the story? And if so, why wasn't he mad at the fish? Right. I mean, all the fish lived, all the other animals, and then he took 2 of each. I'm thinking more than half were carnivores.
Right.
If you're the 4th camel getting on,
did they ever say what he fed them?
Your supplies. Well, and even once they get off.
Oh, he would feed them like other animals, like chickens when they had eggs, and they would grow. Maybe give the tigers.
And
the
when
chickens.
You get off, what do you eat? Do you eat your mate? What do you eat? I thought it was funny.
Talk about shit dumping in the water. Eh?
I thought it was funny. Chris Lazar wasn't clear on the fact that the animals were one of each sex. He thought it might be two boy gorillas. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Just bring one if that's the case.
What, they're bringing gay gorillas on the boat? I don't know.
Jesus.
So in any case, I took those classes. I was not good. But
I had in senior year of high school, I had a social studies type teacher. Yeah. His name was Mr. Lask. He was Jewish.
Yeah.
And he claimed that he was in his 42nd life. And he would tell us about things that happened thousands of years ago because he was there.
Oh, and he claimed to have memories.
He was there. Oh, yeah. He knew them all. And the one question I asked him was about Moses parting the Red Sea. And he's like, Ron, let me tell you, I was there for that. I swear to God, and this is a senior high teacher.
Oh, come on.
He did.
Was he serious?
Serious. He wrote books, too. He was a writer, too, yeah. I said, so what happened? Did Moses part the Red Sea? He's like, no, he didn't part the Red Sea. He goes, as we were running from I forget who they were running from.
They were let my people free.
Yeah.
It was the Israelites were running from the Egyptians or whoever that was that held them captive.
He said it was a complete torrential downpour, and as the sea was dry, so as we were running, it's getting wetter and wetter, and the water's starting to flow. And he goes, they were like 4 hours behind us. So by the time they got to the body of water, it was just raging, and they couldn't cross. And they made it seem as if Moses said, we will pass, but they will not, because I will make the water. That's what happened.
Dude, that's a great story, though. Mm-hmm. If you're going to say you were there and explain some weird shit, that's a good way to do it.
That's what he said, yeah.
Was he on the boat with Noah?
Probably. He used to talk about a lot of the Holocaust stuff, what happened there.
Was he a German soldier?
No, I think he was a Jew.
He was one of the good guys, obviously. Why would he be a bad guy?
No, he wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah. You ever listen to Jordan Peterson?
No, but I think you did tell me about him before.
Yeah, Jordan's interesting because he said if you think you would have been one of the good guys back then and you were German, think again. Because you probably wouldn't. Because we all have that in us.
Yeah.
And he said you go through a progression. First, they get you just to help round up people. Then they get you to help round up people and then, remove their jewelry. Mm-hmm. Then you get them to take off their clothes and walk them over here. And then you get them then you stand in front of and eventually you're the guy that's,
putting them in the gas chamber.
Putting them in the oven or whatever. Yeah. But it's a progression. But anyhow, back to my date.
Yeah. Was it that bad?
Yeah, she sang in choir, so we weren't a match.
So did you have dinner or just like bullshit for a while?
Well, you know how this process goes, don't you?
Not really, no.
You
that process?
No.
Oh, I got you.
You see each other's picture, then you one text, then you text back, and you go back and forth. If you go back and forth about 4 times, then you do what's called a meet and greet. So you just show up and you have a drink. And then you try to keep it like
was last night?
Yes, it was a meet and greet. And I try to make those not go for more than an hour. But then again, I try to make my podcast not go for more than 40 minutes. And
let me just ask you, because I've been married for a very long time.
yes.
At the 45-minute point in that date last night, and you know it's not working out. What do you like? Okay, I'm ready to go now, or how do you wrap that up? Like,
usually I look towards the door and just say,
do you look at your watch?
No,
sometimes?
No. It's usually just I look directly from her, make sure I have good eye contact.
Yeah.
Then I looked at the door and say, next.
Oh Jesus, that's a break, right? That's a quick break, right?
Well,
there.
they know. At that point, they know. No,
that would be the hard part. It's like, okay, well, I think I'm going to get out of here now. Because what if she says, all right, do you want my number?
No, you raise one finger. You look towards the waitress.
This sounds like a joke.
No, this is true. This is really what you do.
All
you
right.
raise one finger.
Yeah.
You look toward the waitress and you say, check, please.
And that's it.
They know.
Then she knows you're ready.
Then you know you're
ready
done.
to bolt.
Yeah. Now, did I ever tell you about the redhead? Should I tell you about the redhead?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I thought we were wrapping this thing up.
No. I want to hear about it.
Well, okay.
Unless you got a time thing.
No, dude. If you can stand the
you can
stories.
cut this shit out if you want. I mean.
On the internet, you judge people by their pictures.
Yeah.
But pictures and profiles are like LinkedIn. You can submit whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Nobody's going through and sorting. There was a redhead that had posted a picture, and she's very, very attractive. And as a redhead, and redheads often do this, she had a picture of herself in a green sweater, outdoors in the fall, with the fall colors behind her in the trees.
The red hair and the green is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. She did. I kind of like ladies with fair skin, so she had fair skin. Not a lot of freckles. Sometimes redheads get too freckly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's beautiful, very symmetrical, just gorgeous girl. Very fit, nice sweater on, kind of not yoga pants, but tailored pants.
It was a full shot. It was a
full shot
Wow.
of her in good shape, standing in front of this beautiful background.
Nice.
So we talk back and forth, very friendly, easy to text to, which is really kind of the current form of chatting. So easy to talk to. And at some point, one of us, and I can't even remember because it's been a couple of years, but one of us suggests, how about we get together for a drink? She says, okay. And this had to be a few years ago because I wouldn't do this nowadays. She invited me to come down and meet her at a local restaurant. Well, she lived down like in Birmingham. And for those people who aren't from the Detroit area, Birmingham is a very nice, well-to-do suburb of Detroit. And I went down there and we met at an upscale restaurant, which happened to have outdoor dining, and it was summer, and the dining was elevated on a deck, maybe 2-3 steps up. And I arrived early, which I normally don't do anymore, but I did at this point.
Yeah.
And I took a position on the deck at a corner table where I could see her walking up. She's going to be a redhead.
Right.
How many good-looking redheads are going to be walking up?
You can see the parking lot or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, I can see down the street in both directions. It's very, very nice, very upscale. And I ordered just water. I'll wait to order her drinks until she gets here because I think that's polite. So, and lumbering down the sidewalk.
Lumbering doesn't sound good.
Comes a
I thought
lady
she was fit.
wearing a moo-moo dress.
No.
Which is just a long piece of material
That's a cover
slung
me,
over her
cover everything
shoulders
up. Yep.
with a great big opening for her neck that showed many rolls of fat,
Oh, boy.
with red hair so sparse you could see her skull through her red hair.
But I wouldn't even think that's her. I
Walking
would think
up-
that's someone else.
Oh, it was her.
Oh, no.
She looked like she had eaten the girl in the pictures 2 years prior,
What did you
or maybe
even-
10 years
Did
ago.
you ask her what was the problem?
And so I got out of my seat, walked down the steps, walked over and said, "Hi, I'm Ted." She said, "I'm so-and-so." I thought, okay. I gave her a hug. Hello. I said, "We're up on the deck." So I helped her get up the steps because she was having a hard time making it up the wooden steps to sit down on the deck. I pulled out her chair, let her sit down. And the waiter came over and we ordered wine. She was drinking wine. I thought, that's fine. I'll have a glass of white wine too, or whatever it was.
Then you'll raise your finger and say, check.
Well, we talked for about, this is early in my dating life, but we talked for, I'm going to say 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, long enough. I kind of shooed the waiter away a couple times. We were having conversations about kids and life and backgrounds, that kind of things. We had talked a little bit online, so I knew what to talk to her about. And then I figured we were about there. And the waiter came up, and we had menus in front of us, and I had looked at the menu, and it was very expensive.
Yeah, everything in Birmingham is.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure. I can't even remember how I knew that. I can't even remember if there was prices on the menu, but somehow I knew it was very, very expensive. And the waiter came over and said, would you like to order now? And she said, yes. And I said, I'll take the check, please.
Good. Because she was running the scam. She was getting free meals.
She was upset. She looked at me and said, what?
Where's my dinner? Yeah.
Said, you are not getting a check now, are you? We're not going to eat? You are not going to buy me dinner? And I said, could I have the check, please, to the waiter? So I excused him, and I looked at her and I said, you really think that that's the problem we have right now?
Yeah.
The problem facing us is the fact that you aren't going to eat for free. This is the issue in this social gathering.
Yikes.
Is the problem that you're not getting food. You think that's what's holding us back here? Mm-hmm. And she said, well, I can't believe you'd make me get all fixed up to come out here and bring me here and not offer to buy me a meal, and on and on and on.
Just out of curiosity, because you're not from Birmingham, did she pick that place?
Yes. Yeah. She knew what it was.
Right.
She's going to get upscale dinner out of the deal. I mean, that was the deal. And so she said, well, in that case, I'm going to leave first. I said, be my guest. And I stood up, as the gentleman should, and watched her stumble down the steps and waddle back down the sidewalk.
Oh.
And so I paid for the very expensive wine that we had. And I thought to myself, never again. I'm not going to do this. This is not right. So subsequent to that, anytime that I've met somebody from Birmingham or the adjacent communities that are quite upscale, I've always not insisted, but suggested that we meet somewhere in between, my place and your place. I like to get people off their turf because I'm going to be off my turf. Yeah. And I'm not there to buy you dinner. I'm there to introduce myself and meet you. And I tell you what, if we like each other, I'm not even going to ask you out. I'm going to go home and I'm going to text you later and I'm going to say, geez, I had a really nice time. And I'm going to say one of two things. Probably not a match, but I had a good time. Or that was a lot of fun. I'm going to do this weekend. Would you like to join me? So that gives them a way to say no. Because I have found in the past, when you ask them face-to-face at a greet and meet, or meet and greet, sometimes they'll say yes because it's awkward to say no. Yeah. But when you're texting, it's easier to say, you know what, it was fun, Ted, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to pass. Yeah. So in any case, the people that you meet online, you want to have a very short meeting with them. It's hard for me to not sit there for an hour with new people because I think new people are interesting and I talk a lot. Yeah. But if it goes over 2 hours, it's too long. Yeah. You got to just kind of meet him. Go, what was the chemistry?
There's no way to weed that process out without meeting the person, is there? Really?
There isn't. No. I mean.
How about even like FaceTiming where you can see the person talking to you? Have you ever done that, or is that an option?
I've only done that with my kids. I hate doing it with my kids because we're back to the why I don't tape myself when I perform.
Oh, you can hear yourself and all that crap?
I can see myself. Oh. And I think, God, I look terrible. If I could see myself right now, I'd be going, oh, God, Ted, get rid of the company. Go to bed. Take a nap. Gotcha. Something. You look terrible.
So I've never face chatted. So you see yourself when you're doing that?
Yeah. Well, you're in a little window in the corner. What you look like, and then they're in the big window.
Oh, so you could put a sock over your picture if you wanted to, right?
Put a sock over my head.
Yeah, well, that too.
A ski mask. I should do that for FaceTime.
Why don't you?
I should FaceTime people with a ski mask on. That would be hilarious. And
not just a ski mask, one of those that they wear in Mexico when they're the WWF wrestlers with the cool mask on, something like that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Then you'd probably enjoy it, and you would do a lot more of it because you're looking at that.
Dude, we should, you know what? We could put that on the internet. Yeah. That would be a great little comedy thing just to do things like that.
Two guys in masks.
Yeah. And they're FaceTiming people. Yeah. But we'd FaceTime people I know, but then they'd get on and they wouldn't be sure they knew you. And we could have a weird background too.
Yeah. And the great thing was we'd have anonymity. And so we could go out in public and no one would know who we are once we become huge. And they wouldn't bombard us because we'd have masks on. They'd never know.
Oh,
be
you know
sweet.
what? Can I be the face? Can I be the guy in the mask? But I want to wear a 1930s hat, one of those old hats.
Yeah, you could do that. There's
right.
no reason why you couldn't.
I'll be the hat
there's
guy.
Not a rule like that.
Yeah, you could be the sunglass guy.
I kind
something.
of like the color green, so I'd like a green and white mask if I could have that. Yeah. It's a good idea.
You know what? When my ex-wife worked at a Catholic school, they had a buzz-in thing, and they always had kids manning the buzz-in. So when you came up to school during the daytime, and because
They
you
get
worked there,
buzzed in?
No, anybody getting in, they lock the school down.
Right.
Then you got to buzz a thing, and then they can see a picture of you on the computer, and then they go, come on in.
Right.
And in the wintertime...
Your kids went to school in prison, didn't they? What was that?
It was a Catholic school in Flint. Well, it was in the bad section of Flint, but it was... So that's how you got in. But, the people that worked in the office, they always had a student assistant that was always manning this darn thing.
Wow.
And I'd take... My ex-wife was the art teacher, so I'd take up art supplies or whatever, or come up, meet her for lunch, whatever. But occasionally I go up there. In the wintertime, I always thought, wouldn't it be hilarious? I'd love to come up here in the wintertime when it's really cold and blowing.
Yeah.
Wearing a ski mask.
Right. What do they do?
And see if they buzz me in with a ski mask. I want to go.
Right. Yeah. Open the fucking door. Ted, didn't you tell me about a comedy thing you did a place where they had to get buzzed in once?
A comedy? Yes, I did a comedy. Yeah, I did down in Detroit. You had to get buzzed in.
Was there a big audience all getting buzzed in?
No, there was a mean-looking audience. It was pretty rough. No, that was good. That was actually wasn't a bad place. It was something West. I can't remember something West. Rebecca, I want to say Concepcion.
Oh yeah, you know what? I got invited to do that, but I had pneumonia or something. I couldn't go.
Yeah, it was actually a very good place.
Yeah,
Josh Adams was down there.
Oh yeah, I've heard
Josh
it was a good place.
Really, but it was weird because all it is a bar. And there's nothing but the bar and a set of booths behind the bar and a walkway. Oh. And you're walking up and down the walkway between the people sitting at the bar and the booths. Oh. So you're basically performing in an aisle.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Are they on either side of you?
Oh, well,
if you're
the bar's
them,
on one side, and
so
the booth's on the other side.
You're almost in the round, but you're in the...
Well, you're at the end of it, but you can walk down it.
Yeah. You're like comedy on a runway, almost.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And they're kind of left of you and right of you, and if you get down too far, they can't see you because they can't see around the people in the booth facing the other way.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to work the aisle. But actually, that was weird because I got there, and it was in a area of Detroit that I was not familiar with, and it was not a high rent area, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I parked and looked around and locked my car up securely.
Right.
And I went to the back door and it was locked. So I went around to the front door and the front door was locked. And on the front door, it said, go to the back door. And so I went back to the back door and I was wiggling the thing. And while I'm wiggling the thing, I noticed there's a button there to push. And I think it said press button. So I started pressing the button. And then this dude buzzed me in.
Was there one of those little trap doors that he opened? And was like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, password.
What are you doing?
Give me the password.
What are you fucking doing here?
Well, what do you know Jimmy? Did Jimmy send you?
Yeah, what's the code?
What the fuck, dude?
Right.
Yeah, you bring the stuff?
Yeah, put a 20 through the fucking hole and I'll let you in.
Yeah. No, but they did frisk me once I got in.
Did they?
Yeah. Yeah.
They frisked you, but they didn't card you.
They didn't care how
Lucky
old
you
I
didn't
was.
have that
They wanted to know
ginger
if I was
beer. If
carrying.
they had that ginger beer with you, you would have carded you.
Exactly. They want to know if I had weapons. No, they were good. You could be 16 as long as you don't have weapons.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
But the show was pretty good.
Well,
Not bad.
Quite frankly, let's see. Josh Adams is hilarious. He was not performing, but he was there. There's like another room, a pool room. There was a guy that went up at the very end of the show.
PJ's. Was it PJ's West or something, right? Like I think it was something like that.
Yeah. It was the audience was predominantly black, and I did my Negro jokes, and just a white guy saying the word Negro gets their attention. Yeah. And they roared.
Wow, that's good.
I had a great show. And everybody up to that point where it was kind of weak, there was the girl that ran it was pretty good, but the other people in front of me in that particular show, and I had been there 2 weeks prior because I just wanted to see what it looked like. But the people prior to me were, I'm not even sure they were really comedians. Some of them were just kind of, if I talk enough, I'll say something funny kind of thing. You know what I mean? They were just really starting out, trying to figure out how to do comedy stuff. Right. Where I was going to actually do a routine. I was actually going to do my set.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a bunch of jokes.
Yeah.
And I don't often get a chance to do my what I call my Negro routine, because I have to do it in front of a black group. If you do it in front of a white group, they're so defensive about black people. And the black people will say, no, listen to the jokes.
They're offended. They won't laugh.
Yeah, well, they don't realize, the target of your joke is not always the subject of your joke. You can have a subject where it targets other people, and actually that little bit targets racism. But you got to listen to it to understand that that's what I'm saying. And it takes about a minute. But I've done an all black room and done that and had them just love that. But if I do it in a white room, everybody gets offended and upset. And I've even had white girls yell, "That's racist." And I'm like, yeah, it's not.
Right.
And I've actually talked to my black friends, and she wasn't listening to the joke, actually, when that happened the one time. So anyhow, I had a good set at the room. It was kind of a weird situation, and they did have to buzz me in.
Yeah.
And it was funny. We were talking about that black comedian from Flint that had the same opening
Brian
as me.
McCree.
Brian, and I was talking to him about it. I said, anytime I've done a black room, I've done really well. Mm-hmm. And he said, I do terrible in black rooms.
Wow.
Yeah, he said that that's not his audience. It really isn't his best audience. And he went on to explain why.
Mine was, I did the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase one time. And it was their, week. It's the first week back for grad students. So it was all 21-year-old to 23-year-old girls. And I'm up there at almost 60 telling prostate jokes, and they were not digging it.
They didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
It's terrible.
No, I was up there for 6 minutes just getting nothing back from it.
Man.
They're looking at me like, what is this fucking old dude talking about?
Yeah.
So that wasn't great.
That
wasn't
happens.
they weren't my lane.
You know what? I've actually had that at Ridley's a couple times.
Really?
That, there's a group of people that is between the ages of, I'm going to say 25 and 40, 25, 35, but this demographic, this kind of
That's the millennial, isn't it? That right around there?
I
Maybe?
don't know what the label is. But my jokes really aren't targeted for them. Yeah. And nor are my sensibilities. They can't identify with my old people stuff, and I'm sure that's what you're doing.
That's what I got. Yeah.
Well, I went down to Livonia, which is, for people who don't know, is kind of an industrial community, very similar to Flint, Livonia, and I did a bunch of political stuff. Back during the last campaign, I did a joke about each one of the people running for office, but you had to know who the people were to get the jokes.
Sure.
The people in Livonia didn't know who the people were.
Right.
And so it didn't work. So I think you got to find your audience that you appeal to. Now, I think once you become famous, your audience follows you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
but at our age,
that's different.
In our experience, we need to find our demographic that works. I mean, I seldom have a bad show in Flint.
Yeah.
That's kind of my background. Right. It's kind of industrial and a little bit older.
I have a joke that I do about my wife being a flat earther. And the couple times I've done it that were really bad, I'll do the setup for the joke, and I'll hear someone in the audience say, loud enough where I can hear them say, "What's a flat earther?" So at that point, it's not going to work. It's not going to kill. No.
My first set ever was down at the Ann Arbor showcase.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, at the old one. That's where I did my first open mic before I ever took a comedy lesson or anything.
Wow, what year? Like 2010-ish? Or?
I'll tell you. Let's see. 2014.
Oh, okay.
First time I ever did it. I had just written my book, and I was lecturing on my book, and had done some lectures on my book, and I was running out of people to talk to, and I was thinking, I was blogging about my stuff in my book, which is on parenting. And I thought, I enjoy doing this, but who am I going to talk to? I'm running out of people to talk to, and I like standing up front and presenting things, and so I decided to do this. So I just looked up online who has an open mic, and I found one in Ann Arbor, so I went down to do it.
How'd it go?
Surprisingly well for the lousy material I had. I mean, I had been collecting things that I thought were funny for many, many, many years. And actually, those books up there on the far right are filled with all kinds of notes of when I was a salesman on the road and things that I thought were funny that I ran into. And when I decided to do this, I hadn't written any comedy. They said, come do it. And so I had 3 days to write some jokes. And I can't remember, I think we did 5 minutes, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Something like that. And when I came off, people said, I can't believe that's your first time, that you've never been up before. But I think that was more about the fact I wasn't nervous. But see,
That's what a lot of people associate with you being comfortable as being good. And it usually does help. I mean, you know, if you're...
Yeah, well, you got to get over that,
right,
yes.
if you're super comfortable and appear to be super comfortable, even if you're not killing it joke-wise, people think, wow, this guy's really good because he just seems really comfortable.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you reminded me something a second ago of a story you told me. You said you were on your book tour or whatever it was. You told me about and I don't want to give too much of it away. I want you to tell people because there's kind of a punchline to it where you had to go do a book signing at 7 o'clock. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I had to do a book presentation at, no, it was at 6 o'clock.
Oh, was it 6 o'clock?
Yeah. I had to do it. They asked me to.
And even that's kind of early for a comedy show or a presentation. You would think it'd be later.
Yeah.
Right? I know open mics don't start till 9 sometimes, 10 sometimes. So 6 o'clock is pretty early.
Well, yes. And because I'm stupid,
right,
I messed that up.
What do you mean?
Apparently you want me to tell the story, don't you?
Well, you could.
Okay. I was lecturing to different people on parenting.
Right.
Because I wrote a book on parenting toddlers. And there was a local preschool place, and I went in and talked to the owner of it or the supervisor of it. And I was going to come in and talk to her parents that dropped off kids there or whatever. And I said, sure, set up a time or whatever. And she said 6 o'clock on this time or whatever.
Yeah.
This day. And I have things to give away. I have books I take.
You set up your whole table and shit?
Yeah, and I do a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah,
it was like
you
a
gotta
formal
get ready.
Yeah, it's a formal thing. And I think, okay, so I'm going to go up there and do the presentation. And she said,
you got to get there like an hour early probably, right?
Well, a little bit. She said, we're going to have our meeting ahead of time, but I'll give you a little time to set up. So I figure if I get there 5:30 or 5:45, I'll be good. And I get all ready and I go up there to make the presentation and the door's locked. Nobody's there.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. That's what I thought. I'm knocking on the door, ringing the bell.
What time was that at?
I was like 5:45 or 20 to 6 or those are well enough to set up my stuff and get ready.
That's not a good sign. Is
No,
it
was a bad sign. I thought I was kind of looking forward to making this presentation.
Right.
And
did you have the right day?
I did have the right day. I was on the exact right day. I double checked that. You kind of worry about that.
Right.
So I contacted the lady. I texted her or sent her a message, and she responded. And I said, I got there. And actually, while I was there, I was like, I'm here. Where are you? And then nothing.
Yeah.
And I got a text back. Apparently, that the meeting was at 6 a.m.
What?
Not 6 p.m.
6 a.m.?
6 a.m.
Holy shit.
She wanted a presentation. He said, I'll see you on this day at 6.
Oh. You should have to say a.m. If you're going to fucking meet somebody at 6 a.m., you need to say a.m.
I agree.
Jesus Christ. I would have never thought it was 6 a.m. So anyway, that's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, you know what? And I felt like an asshole because I did.
Yeah.
And I apologized to the lady, and she was, is indignant a word? She was very aloof and very kind of nasty about it.
Really?
That I was like not professional, and that I can't believe that you would show
She
up here
never
at 6
once
o'clock.
thought that her not saying a.m. was her problem or her fault?
I don't know. I guess in her world that 6 o'clock in the morning is like a normal time. It's not that I haven't done presentations that early when I was working, but it was really rare. Usually they'd be 7 a.m. because work would start at 8 or 9, so you do it right prior to work. But 6 a.m.
Was she a redhead, Ted? Because it almost seems like she was deceptive.
She did wear a muumuu.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, you know what? That was just about the end of my lecturing on books time. Anyhow, I was pretty much fed up with it because turns out, good parents don't need you and bad parents aren't showing up.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I went down and talked to a men's group that was all about parenting in Detroit, and they have an annual group. And it was rare, but when I was a single parent, it was rare for men to be single parents, and I did it back in the 80s.
Right.
And so they had this.
The moms always get the kids.
Yeah. And so they had this group of men that get together and kind of support each other about trying to have custody of their kids or enough time with their kids or whatever. And I was going to go down and talk to them. And so when I set up and started my presentation, I started out saying it doesn't matter how much time you have with your kids if you aren't a good parent. And making the assumption that just because you have a kid, you're a good parent is probably a misguided thought, because it takes some understanding, takes some training, takes some practice to actually get good at it. But if you're going to go into the court and represent the fact that you think you should be sole custody or have sole custody or be the primary caretaker of these kids, maybe you should know something about taking care of little kids. And when it comes to toddlers, little kids in diapers that need potty training and all
Especially as a man. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
and it'd be nice if you could impress the judge by knowing a few things. And I'm here to give you a couple tips on taking care of kids and what a good quality parent might want to know or might be concerned about. And they were not interested in the slightest. Matter of fact, they were insulted with the thought that they weren't automatically good parents because they had fought this battle and told themselves this so much because they want custody of their kids because their wife does drugs. So I'm going to be a good parent. And I'm thinking there's more to it than wanting to be a good parent. That, and I've, had this many kids over this many years. All you're looking to do is
give them ammunition so they can succeed.
They're, you know what? That's the problem with most people. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about comedy, if you're talking about parenting, if you're talking about business. People do not want to be told there might be a better way to do anything that they're doing. People, their egos are so attached. And you had a son, I know, that was a really good golfer. And I had a daughter that was a really good golfer. But
yes.
Yeah, well,
right.
Yeah, still do. Yeah, but the point is, the only reason she was really good and your son was really good, there's three things. They have to have some talent for it. Then they have to be diligent at working at it. They have to have the drive, like nobody's drive, to just work when other people aren't working. But they also have to have the humility to know they can always be better.
Yeah.
And you can only be better when you determine what area you can improve. So you have to take a skeptical look at what you're doing and saying, even though I'm almost shooting par every time, my chipping is not as good as it could be. So you have to be critical of things that are pretty good, but might be better. And those are the kind of people that rise to the top. And I don't care if you're talking about parenting or golf or in life or business. And if your ego is such that you can't tolerate criticism, I'm not saying criticism is always polite or fun or nice or easy, but if you can't tolerate it, you aren't getting any better. And even if you're really good at something, like I was a pretty good salesperson, but the environment changes, customers change, needs change. And so you have to get better at everything all the time. Otherwise you're getting worse because the competition's going to get better. The environment's going to change. You aren't going to be as successful. So everything you do, you have to find ways to get better. But my problem at that meeting was their egos were so big. No, we're fine. What are you talking about? And I had lawyers stand up and criticize what I was saying because I was saying these guys should think about, the quality of their parenting and what are they going to do when they have the kids? What kind of things are you going to tell the judge that you're able to do or you're willing to do? Or what are your goals? What environment are you trying to, provide? Right. Well, how are you going to get better? Where's
what are you going to do with the kids when you're home every night? What is your plan? What are you?
Yeah, I mean, it isn't just sticking food in front of them and telling them to go to bed. You're nurturing. You're raising a person to release them into the environment to be an independent, smart, confident person. And there's a whole lot of things you got to learn to do. But in any case, my public speaking was not always well received and sometimes not heard at all. But it was a fun experience. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it. The book's out there. It's called Look Out, I'm Parenting Here, a survival guide for a single or busy parent. It can be found on Amazon. Ebook copies are only 99 cents. I'm giving it away. Hard copies, you got to pay for the hard copies. So they're like $17 a hardback's like $27, I think. Paperbacks are $17 or something like that. But in any case,
it's on Amazon too. You can
it is on Amazon, Amazon.com. Good. You can look up Ted Moss 3 or you can look up Look Out, I'm Parenting Here. So there's a plug for me. Thank you, Ron.
Cool. You're welcome.
I love being on your podcast.
Sure.
I get to plug my shit.
Glad you could make it.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No.
You got anything coming up?
No.
You got any websites?
Nothing great.
Yeah. You want to talk about any girlfriends on the side or anything that your wife doesn't know about that we can put out there in the public?
We could talk about one. I've dated this girl that was a redhead. No.
In a moo-moo.
Right. No.
You must have married right, because I tell you what, you spend more time away from your wife than most people.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I was a huge golfer for years and years, and people would always say, "How do you fucking get away to golf? Golf is like 5 hours to get away." And my wife was the type where she would be like, "Please tell me you're golfing today."
Yeah,
that's how she was, and that's how she still is.
Is that a joke or is that true?
No, that's the honest to God truth. And even now, when I don't golf as much, but I'm still in a couple, like a league or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, when the league ends, she's like depressed. She's like, "You're not golfing anymore on Tuesday nights?" I said, "No, it's over." She's like, "Well, it's warm out. You can still go and play, But yeah, that's.
Hey, I was thinking about having a golf outing this summer for comedians. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went golfing with Sal D'Amelio, Billy Ray Bauer, and there's a number of comedians that golf.
I think Norm Stoltz is a golfer
too.
Yeah.
But I was thinking maybe I'd put something together, put it out there in the Comedy Network. If you're in Michigan, there's a Michigan Comic Network.
MCN,
MCN with all the local stuff on comedy. So if you want to come up to Michigan and do comedy, that you should look up MCN. And but in any case, I thought it'd be fun to just have a social gathering.
You should put something on there, Ted, too, about selling jokes. You should just put something.
You're fucking out of your mind, dude.
Why?
You think people are going to buy my jokes?
Why wouldn't
No,
they?
actually, I did have an offer for Finder Chatter Caller. Did I ever tell you that?
You did tell me that, but why wouldn't
not very much money, though. Not enough to sell it. So,
well, if you sold it, does that mean you can never use it again?
Can I rent it? Can
That's
you
what I'm
rent
saying.
out
Borrow it. Let's,
Can I rent out Carlin's bits? Maybe. Who do I contact? Who has the rights?
Let me ask you this: if you, out of all the comedians you know,
who
would be best suited to buy one of your jokes? Because there is an issue with the
I do
style.
have a style. I do have a style. Well, you know what? I think most people would not be comfortable doing my style.
Yeah.
And as you know, within my style of comedy, I do a lot of, I don't want to call it wordplay, but I have a lot of.
Well, it's a certain amount of like wordsmith that you do. Yeah.
Yes. It's not like rapping, but it kind of is in comedy. There's that element to it. And so it's pretty precise.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's precisely funny, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's funny.
I would think, who could do my stuff? I actually think Chris Lazar could do my stuff.
Yeah.
I actually think he could. But you almost have to be the character. You almost have to be the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more of...
there aren't a lot of guys that go on stage and do characters like you. Like you did. Mike Green is, in my opinion, great at a character that he is on stage that he's really not. Like most people that are on stage, when they get off stage, they're pretty similar to what they were like me. I'm not really fucking different.
Well, Mike Green is like a 14-year-old boy.
Mike Green is hilarious.
And
that
great
character he does is incredible.
Yeah. Well, it's now he doesn't come out and say I'm a 14-year-old boy, but he does.
No.
His voice is from a perception of what you would be thinking if you were a 14-year-old boy.
His character is basically the embodiment of innocence is what he is up there.
Right.
And when you're innocent on stage like that, people love you because you're so vulnerable and so innocent, and you made a mistake and you did something that made you look funny, and people just love that shit. And Mike is like the expert at it, in my opinion.
And my character isn't like that at all.
No, but it's still a character, and that's cool too. I mean, because there aren't a lot of people doing characters, and you're...
Well, I didn't do it on purpose. I remember Matt Bach one time said... Why are you doing that voice?
Right.
And I'm like,
what voice?
What voice?
Why, Matt, what voice are you talking about? Right?
To the name of Ruben Begonia, strike of a million. No,
I have no idea, Matt, what you are referring to.
I have no idea.
Sunday.
Yeah, something Speedway.
Yeah.
Wild Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not even sure why I do that. Quite frankly, it's almost a second.
I've seen you enough where I think it happens. It happens to you, and it just like takes over.
You know, and I've tried to fight it even, and I don't do well fighting it because I fall into it.
Yeah, and
I think it has a ring of insincerity to it, and I think it's the limiting factor in my comedy, and I don't know how to not do it.
Right.
It's kind of like the opening of this show.
Yeah,
you know, it's just kind of what I do.
Right.
And I'm not sure, I haven't always been that guy. That if you'd say, go, Ted, I'm going to go, all right, here we go. This is what we're going to do. And that's what I do.
You and I talked about it before the podcast, how Jim Carrey and maybe Robin Williams was the most famous at it. When he went on to a late night talk show, you couldn't just sit down and say, hey, Robin, how's your life going? How are the wife and kids?
Right.
No, he would be that insane person that he is on stage, even when he's sitting down.
Yeah.
Where I don't think you would be that way. You can dissociate from the guy on stage, like Mike Green as well.
Yeah.
But Robin Williams, even Jim Carrey, like that. But then again, maybe they thought they don't want to see the real me. They want funny Robin Williams.
I've seen Jim Carrey give a commencement speech where he was pretty normal.
Yeah.
And so I think he can pop in and out.
Oh, he does. More than Robin Williams did.
Yeah, I don't think Robin ever did. I think Robin was always an actor.
Yeah.
He was always playing a role. He was always saying somebody else's words.
But he started in stand-up comedy, and that's the guy he was on stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think at some level, you're limited in who you can be and what character you can play and what voice you have on stage.
Right.
I don't always stay in that character, I don't think. But I think there's
on stage, you mean?
I mean, the character you see me on stage.
Yep.
When you see me in person.
Oh, no, you're not at all.
But I think I pop into it once in a while.
Only
if something funny happens, I go, "Oh, I can't believe this," and all of a sudden I'll say something like that.
Yeah. But that's what you're intending to do. You want people to see that. Well, I'm going to do something funny here, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
because that's what you associate with being funny. Maybe
Yeah. Well, when I see something funny, that's the voice in my head that I hear.
We also talked about Seth MacFarlane, and you're like that with him, where he. You were talking about you can do your own commercials where you can be, and Seth MacFarlane, I've seen him interviewed a few times, and he, all the characters he does, he said his dad was a 50s ad man.
Yeah.
And he loved that.
I can see that, yes.
Yeah. Joe's Motor Oil, come by and gets a kid a can of our, and that's where all of his voices come from.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, you know what, I don't know how to use it though. I mean, and I don't know that, he's great.
Yeah.
But I'm okay, but I've always thought that's my limiting factor, that it's hard for me. I think the audience likes you if you're sincere, and it's hard for me to come across as sincere. Now, I've had shows like the contest I won up in Frankenmuth, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
But the audience was with me. I said, "Here's the ride we're going on."
Right.
Dude. And everybody said, "Let's go.
Do it. Let's go. Yeah.
And I did my bit, and they roared through the whole thing, and I had a great set.
Those are great nights, man.
That was, probably the biggest compliment I've ever had from anybody in comedy. Tim Finkel came up to me backstage because he was on that show too. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Dude, I was backstage. I was rehearsing, and they were roaring so loud, I had to come out to see what was going on."
Wow.
He said, "You had 3 applause breaks and 1 wahoo break."
Damn.
Said, "I've never heard anybody in 12 minutes have 3 applause breaks and a wahoo break. Honestly, they started just screaming, where I had to just stop and tell.
That's awesome.
And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm not that funny.
Wow.
I've said all this shit before. It's not that funny. But we were all along for the ride at that point. You know what I mean?
And nights like that are a double-edged sword because they're so amazing. You're so fucking high. And then you go and do another show.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck has happened?
The same joke.
And everything is at that standard now because you had such a great night.
I know.
Now you're going to Joe's bar where they're watching TV. They're not even listening to you.
Yeah.
And you just get slammed back down to earth, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It's even worse when they're listening to you and not laughing. When the TVs are off, when they're paying attention, they're looking right at you,
that's bad.
And nothing's happening.
Yeah. That's when you tap on the mic and you're like, is this thing on?
You're having sex with a lady and she's looking at you and she's
I did a show
doing nothing,
over
just
the
looking
weekend.
at you and going like, yeah, and now what?
I did a show over the weekend in Battle Creek with a good audience, like 400 people,
Yeah, long ways to Battle Creek. That's a couple hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do the same opener all the time about, Match.com,
Yes, and you're hilarious. I love your set, dude. You have a lot of good stuff.
And at the end of that joke, I tell people that I was just opening with that because it's funny. And when I did that night, I said, I just opened with that joke because it's usually funny because they didn't really find it that way.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, oh, fuck, And what sucks is when you're usually open with something good. That's what you feel. This is like a really good joke.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go over well. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So they're not getting one of my best fucking jokes.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's because they're not listening. They're settling in. They're talking to their friends. That they're still on their phones. So that's when you got to just pile through and go to your next one and hope that they're going to listen for it. Because it's good. You've done it a lot of times.
Yeah.
I know people laugh at this, but they didn't that night because they were doing something
Right.
else. They were
Right.
still getting ready, you know.
We always had those solid go-tos, but I got to tell you, when I was doing that show at Big Tommy's, an opening for Billy, who was
Yeah.
going to record it.
Yeah.
Abby had a set that was, she struggled. And
Was
Abby,
she the like opener?
yeah, she was the host.
yeah.
Yeah, she opened, I featured, and Billy,
Right.
headlined. So,
Yep.
and I mean, she won the LA Express
Abby
competition.
is
she
fucking hilarious.
with the right audience, but
Yeah.
she's a character. You
Yeah.
got to buy
Yeah.
into this kind of evil.
Yes.
I mean, she's
Yeah,
like,
but she's great. She, you know,
yeah.
With 98% of audiences, I think she does do well.
Oh
you know?
yeah. She's who's the little doll that kills people in the horror flicks?
Chucky?
Yeah, she's like
Yeah.
sister of Chucky.
Right.
She
right,
does
yeah,
it
yeah,
because she's
yeah.
got this evil
Yeah,
laugh.
that laugh is
yeah,
great.
Yeah, Oh, it is great. And
Yeah.
she has great material too, but
Yeah.
you got to kind of go along for the ride.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, with this crowd, she struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
And which isn't good because they're going to record this for Billy.
Yeah.
But she did her thing. She got some laughs, but it wasn't her best set.
Right.
And I've seen
Yeah.
her just kill. So
yeah.
no offense to her. It wasn't a good night for her. And I got up. I was struggling too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where you'd normally just power through. And I stopped. And I talked to the audience. I said, look if you're waiting for something better,
Right. This is it.
this is what I do. And actually, Chris Lazar even mentioned that because he was in the audience, he said, that's when you broke them. That's when they broke through.
Yeah.
It's you stopped and talked to him, said, this is the comedy.
Right,
If
yeah.
you came for something
I don't know
else,
if
you're
you're- I
going
don't
to be
know if you're
waiting a long
waiting for
time. 'Cause
something,
There's
but yeah.
nothing else happening but
Right.
this.
Yeah.
This is as funny as I get. This is
Yeah,
what I
this
got.
This is the
a story.
appetizer, the entree, and dessert you're looking at right here.
I'm not getting funnier as you go.
Right,
You can
right.
wait, but
But they dug that?
they actually laughed at that. They thought that was funny that I kind of broke. And in my mind, I thought they saw me as reciting a story or a poem to him and not talking to him. And taking that break actually said, look, I'm going to talk to you because
Right.
we're all in the same room. I can hear you and I can hear that you're not laughing and you can hear me. This is a real thing here. This isn't like you aren't watching TV.
Right.
It's an interactive thing. And when I did, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I don't know the psychology of it, then they started laughing. And then the rest of my set was really good. And
Yeah.
actually, because I wanted to close strong, I did close with my Finder Chatter Caller,
Yeah.
which is like a 2.5 minute bit. And it seldom fails.
No,
And
right.
I didn't want to be the star, but I wanted them to be in a good mood and laughing
Yeah.
when Billy came up because, he's going to sell this thing.
Right.
And that did okay. But the point of the story is that sometimes when you have one of those sets, they're listening to you. They just aren't with you for whatever reason. And somehow you got to get them on board.
Yep. And stopping and talking to him was the thing to do.
Yeah. And
I saw Dave Landau open one time, and he's a little bluish, but he came out and did something right out of the gate, and everybody kind of went, oh, geez. And it was funny because he just fucking stopped and went, what? He goes, it's just going to get fucking worse or whatever, something like that. And they loved that. And all of a sudden, boom, they were all on board.
Yes.
Same thing,
Yes.
It's like, yeah, instead of you got to acknowledge that something. You have to acknowledge what's happening and go, what?
Well,
the
if you're
fuck?
good, you will.
Yeah.
And actually, that's one of the things that's great about Josh Adams, that he comes on and he talks about the room. He talks about what's going on in the room, or people are walking through, or what's hanging on the wall.
That's really cool. Yeah, I can't do. I'm like a fucking scripted motherfucker when I'm up there, man.
Well, so am I.
I'm not
But,
good
but
at it.
that conversation he has is a lot like me stopping and talking about what we're doing.
Yeah.
That they know you're in the moment with them, and somehow that breaks down a barrier. And I don't get it. I don't know why it's true.
Martez Jackson is really good at that too. I don't know him. I've been at big times with him a lot.
Is he local?
He's local, and I've seen him headline there. I've seen him feature there, and he's opened for me there. And he'll because when you open at big times, you can do 20 minutes, 25 minutes sometimes. So he'll go there, and it'll be an ice cold fucking crowd. No one's listening. They're eating.
Yeah.
And he'll just go up there, and
Dinner
for the
show.
first 5 minutes, he'll be like, "Fuck, this is and he'll just talk. Because I know his bit. He's not doing his bit. He's just talking and telling people what's going to happen or what. And I am not great at that. And it's always something I envy.
Well,
in
you're
comedians.
less scripted than I am. And truth be told, we got together one time and talked about doing a 2-man bit.
Yep.
And I am so scripted, and you're more a little bit loose about, it's got to be a little bit more conversational, I think. I think we never got back together. We kind of had one meeting, and it was kind of rough. And
Right.
I think we both could see
I just
whatever
felt
reason.
that we weren't meshing as well as two people that need, if you're going to do a double act, they need to really be on the same page.
I think so too. I totally agree. And we both thought that.
Right.
But I mean.
Kind of like the date. Like,
yeah. Next.
I think I was the redhead in that scenario.
I think you thought the same thing. I thought that, I don't know why this isn't working, but it's not working that well.
Yeah.
Now, recently, because I just bought 2 new guitars, I thought I would love to do a kind of like a Smothers Brothers thing.
Yeah.
I could be the guitar player and the other person could just talk. I think that would be fun. But I think doing a 2-man bit would be fun with anybody. But you got to have somebody that would do that.
I think it'd be fun too, Ted. But the problem with it is you got to practice that shit. That's a lot. There's time involved. So you got to get somebody that's willing to spend the quality time with the 2-man group as well as if they're doing comedy on their own. So it's a plateful.
It is.
I think. Yeah.
I totally agree. But I also think that if you're going to be big in comedy, you got to do something that makes you stand out.
Yeah.
Because there's
no one's doing it.
Yeah.
No one's doing it. I love the idea. That's why I agreed to at least look into it.
Yeah.
And when you think of the Smothers Brothers, my favorite group in history are Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
As a kid, loved them. I still, I watched all their movies. I loved any stand-up they did. They would roast shows and stuff, and they were great. So that's why I was on board. But you got to be 2 personalities that are very good for each other.
I agree. And I don't know how you find that. I'm not sure how you develop that. I'm not sure how you write for that.
That's difficult. Yeah.
I
wonder how they got together.
Yeah. Lewis and Martin, when they first got together, was all ad lib.
Both of them were just like riffing, basically.
They were just somehow thrown together at a show, and they were just kind of talking. And same as the Rat Pack, when they got together and started doing things, it was all ad lib. But the other funny thing is that my understanding is when you have a straight man and a funny man, because it often ends up being that one setting up the other guy, that the funny man gets paid less than the straight man.
I would think they just split everything, wouldn't you?
No. Historically, I believe, and I can't remember where I learned this, that the straight man who doesn't get the recognition and the fame
makes up for it with a little more cash.
Yeah, he's like 60%. The other guy gets 40%.
Wow.
That it's not a 50-50 deal. Now, I don't know why. Maybe that's not true, but I think I heard that someplace.
That could be exactly why, because when you walk up to the Smothers Brothers, everybody's walking up to
Tommy,
the funny one.
Was Tommy the funny one?
I think Tommy is the funny one. Yeah. Dick is the other one.
Yeah. The one that acted like he was low IQ. Was the funny one. Was that Tommy?
Yeah. And the other thing, Ted, about...
Notice I didn't say retarded.
Right.
We like cover that.
Is a lot of times they are siblings because they're so comfortable with each other. Sometimes they're even twins, right? The 2 black guys are twins. There's 2 white guys that are twins that are comedy acts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the same thing they say about singers. No one can harmonize like siblings.
Yeah.
And it's probably somewhere.
Who did Wake Up Little Susie, the brothers?
Wake Up Little Susie. Were they the Everly Brothers? Everly? Were they Everly? Maybe?
Yeah. They had great voices together. Because they're almost the same, but they're not quite the same.
Yeah.
Actually, they double voices. I don't know if you know this, but singers actually double their voice.
Oh.
Well, so my son, when he used to be a singer, he would
sing a bunch of tracks and play them over each other?
No. He'd just sing once. Oh. But then they take another track of the exact same thing, put it together with the other one, and put it
in the same key and everything?
Yeah, and just put it off, just a tad. So you can tell there's 2.
Oh.
So it's just a little bit off. So it's doubling. But some people got to the point where they were like tripling and quadding their voice.
Wow.
And you listen to it, go, that's just too much.
Yeah.
That's too much. So doubling your voice isn't an unusual thing.
My mom sang on the radio with her 2 sisters, almost like the Andrews sisters. There were 3 of them. Yeah. They used to do.
Pretty cool.
They would do USO shows, and they would do jingles on commercials and stuff. Boogie Woogie Goo Boy.
Yeah.
All that. And then for years, for 40 years, they sang at every Christmas party together. They would do all the songs. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Did they travel around and do this?
But they traveled to USO shows with their mother. She put on shows and stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Did they ever come up to Flint to do the show in Flint?
They might have. I'll ask her sometime. They're all 3 still alive.
Wow. No. Back in the day, my dad used to tell me about this because he was in World War II, but back in the day, post-World War II, the big band era, when all these guys jitterbugged and loved to dance, and that was what you did.
Yeah.
And they had the big band shows where big band would come in. They would have big auditoriums where people come in. You'd have to have a big wooden dance floor, whether it's a roller rink or an auditorium.
Right.
So all these, or gymnasium where all these people could dance.
Jitterbug, yeah.
And so he used to go down to what was called the IMA in Flint, and they used to set it up for, I don't know if it was a weekly or monthly dance, but they had a lot of dances down there.
Wow.
And they had this big mirror ball they used to put up.
Like a disco ball type thing?
Like a disco ball. Put the sparklies around the room while they're out there dancing and stuff. The big band's coming in.
Yeah.
And week after week, they'd have to put that ball up, and they'd have to take that ball down.
Really? They didn't just leave it up?
No. For some reason, they'd put it up. And
IMA didn't want it up there all the time.
Who knows? Maybe they're playing basketball and they get hit, or I have no idea why. But he said they did this over and over, and they finally got to a point. And he was in the Junior Chamber of Commerce, so they were the young and upcomers, business kids, or whatever.
Right.
He said they got to the point they got tired of putting it up and taking it down. So him and his buddies were taking it down one day, and they just kind of looked at each other and they dropped the ball.
Oh, that's it. We're done with it. I think fucking shattered. I bet.
Yeah. Talk about dropping the ball.
I wonder if that's where that same thing came from. We dropped the ball.
I know. I don't know. That's pretty good. I thought that was a sex thing. I dropped the ball.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was a song, wasn't it? I dropped the ball on you. No, that was
You dropped the bomb on me, baby. Yeah, the bomb, baby.
Not the ball. You dropped the bomb on me. All right, are we done? We got to be done,
guess.
dude.
Yeah, we could probably wrap it
up. We only can be so entertaining for so long.
Yeah, you have to cut.
At some point, we're just old white men talking about shit.
You're going to have to edit like 70% of this.
I know, good God, I can't believe we talked about that.
This was just rambling.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Oh, I'm glad I could finally get out here.
No, I want you to come in and do this again sometime.
I will. I'll do it again anytime.
We can talk about a lot of shit. I'm not sure anybody will ever want to listen to it, but
Doesn't matter. This isn't for other people. Ted.
This is for us.
This is for
our
us.
personal collection.
Right.
I know you'll be listening to this with your headphones on. Your wife will be going,
yeah.
God, I'm glad he's not bugging
Christ,
me.
I'm glad this isn't on the flowing through the open air where I have to listen to it.
Thank God it's not radio.
Jesus.
Hey, but thanks for coming in. I'm glad you made the trip out, and I appreciate that. It's always good talking to you.
Great to be here. I mean, I do have one little, it's not more than 20 seconds. I've got a story about a podcast. I was doing a show early on, a showcase show with people.
Why do I find this not surprising you have one more story?
Just one more story. And I'm with all these young people that you talked about earlier, the 23-year-olds.
Sure.
And we're off in the corner getting ready to go up. Somebody else, and the one guy, they're talking. And one guy says, Ron, what's your favorite podcast? And I'm like, I'd never fucking heard of a podcast before. So I'm like, you know what, Jim, I got to take a leak. I'll be right back. I went in the bathroom. I got on my phone and I'm looking at podcasts and figuring out what they are. And then I wrote like favorite podcasts, and Drew and Mike were on one, and it came up Drew and Mike. So when I walked back out, I'm like, you know what? I think Drew and Mike are and they're like, oh, that's a fucking good one. That's a really good. I had no idea. This was probably 5 years ago, but I had no idea what a podcast was. So.
I think it's hilarious that you wanted to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, I don't know.
Right.
What's that?
I felt like I was the old guy, so I didn't want to be like...
Well, you were the old guy.
Well, I know, but I didn't want to cement it. Be like, what's that?
Yeah.
And they'd all go, oh, sorry, we didn't realize you were that
This is what
fucking
happens
old.
to you when you get old. You're trying to hide the fact you're old.
Yes.
And when I was young, I always thought it'd be fun to be old because I could be the old pervert man and I could tap girls on the butt and not get in trouble when I... That never happened.
I saw Kara Karachi the other night at Big Time, and she came up to me. She goes,
well,
hi.
I said tapping the butt, and this brought up Kara.
No. She goes, hi, Grandpa.
Oh, no.
That's what she said to me. God damn it, Kara. But yeah, no, that's, we're older. That's the way it is.
Send her a dick pic, dude.
No, I'm not doing that.
Don't do that. Yeah.
I don't want anyone to see my dick.
Well, it doesn't have to be yours. Dude, haven't you learned this?
That's true. I haven't thought of that.
Yeah,
Keep forgetting about the redhead.
Google dick.
Keep forgetting about the redhead.
Yeah, that's right. You can put any dick out there you want. Yeah, she's nice. Actually, she's the one that bought me the cup you're drinking out of.
Oh, that's nice. What does it say? Let's see. I'm a ray of fucking sunshine. Yeah.
I like her a lot. She actually just sent me a reference. She said, I think Billy Ray Bauer is going out on the East Coast and looking for somebody that was available to travel.
I saw that,
and open for him.
Yeah.
And she sent it to me. She said, Ted, you should do this. You really should do this.
Yeah, you would have been a great candidate for that.
Well, thank you. That's nice of you to say. I don't think I'm that fucking funny, but I think that's nice. And you know what? I have always really kind of enjoyed not mentoring as much as sharing what I think with new comedians. Young men, young women, people that are new, that are interested in getting better. I enjoy saying, it's a community. These are the things you should be aware of.
Yeah.
Here's some etiquette things.
Mentoring.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say mentoring because it sounds like I think I know a lot, and I know a little bit more than them. But I love kind of introducing them to things that I know and that I think are good or have worked for me. I think too many people in my life have been very protective of knowledge, especially in business. People don't want you to know.
No, that's always that way in business.
And I think that's unfortunate because, especially in comedy, I don't think it's competition.
No.
It's like, if you start a podcast, I'm going to come on your podcast and be the best guest I can.
Right.
I want your podcast to be successful, and I don't think it takes away from mine.
No.
And I think comedy is the same thing.
If you feel that way, you're skewed.
Yeah. At least that's what I think.
If you feel that in order for you to be better, this guy can't be funny, then you have an issue.
Yeah.
You have problems.
Besides, I think, Kara's one person who might at some point run into a lady that I can date.
Oh, that's true. You never know, man. She could be your wingman.
Yeah, exactly. Help me out, Kara. All right.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in, Ron Rigby.
You're welcome.
See him everywhere all the time.
Mark Ridley's this weekend, but you know what? This will probably air in like 5 months.
And you finally hit the damn court, dude. I told you not to do that. Mark Ridley's this weekend. You're doing the weekend at Ridley's? You're hosting? You're featuring? What are you doing?
Hosting.
That's big time. Yeah. Good for you.
It was supposed to be the headliner was supposed to be Finesse Mitchell, which would have been great because he's a Saturday Night Live guy. He was there for like 4 years, but he must have backed out because I went onto Ridley's website a couple weeks ago and it's somebody else now. So he must have had an issue where he couldn't,
Well, I think that's great. Have fun at Ridley's. When I grow up, I want to be you.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just before they throw me in a shredder.
You need to have better goals.
All right, we're getting out of here regardless of what he has to say. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to my guest, Ron Rigby, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
A man who has a name for comedy, Mr. Ron Rigby. Thanks. We're out, folks.
See ya.
All right, we're getting out of here. That was Mr. Ron Rigby. Wasn't he great? He is always a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks a lot for sticking around all the way to the end. And remember, if you subscribe, you'll never miss a show. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And so you know, the new rule is, if you laughed out loud at least one time, you got to share on Facebook for me. Them's the rules. I don't make them up. Well, really I do, but it'd be really cool if you do that. Help me out by sharing with your friends. And by the way, if you want to be a super fan, hit the heart button. You can be a patron. Sign up and buy me a cup of coffee once a month. If you do, I'll give you a shout out by name on my next show. There's also show stickers and official mugs we'll send out to you. But in any case, remember, be safe, be good to each other, and just try to be happy. And until next time, I'm Ted Moss, and those are my thoughts.